taxes get hectorized. Hectorized, hectorized. If you love pro-life, get hectorized. Hectorized, hectorized. The kind of candidate you can bet won't lie. Hectorized, hectorized. The kind of candidate that will look you in the eyes.
Get hectorized. You should have let me do that voiceover.
You got a good one, Mike. We can redo it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us this morning Hector Maldonado. Hector is running for the U.S. Senate against Claire Mccaskill. And this is a guy who's worthy of hearing and listening to his positions and issues. I happen to like his stand on stuff, and I'm that's his song that was. Who wrote that song for you, by the way?
Oh, Mike, that's the world famous Gary S. Paxton, the songwriter, legendary songwriter that wrote Monster Mash 50 years ago this year.
Get out of here! Really?
Yep, yes, sir.
He wrote Monster Mash too.
You know, he wrote over 2,600 songs, actually. Monster Mash is only one.
Isn't that amazing?
Popular songs, yep.
And yet nobody knows his name. You know, they know the guys who wrote, they know the guys who performed it probably, or the girls, but they don't know him, right?
Well, that's how it is. There's people on the background that are never known, but they're responsible for everything going on. Actually, that's relevant in politics as well.
That's true. That is the truth. Well, listen, I'm glad to have you on the show. One of the things that we promote here, and I know you don't live locally, but one of the things that we promote here is that everybody get educated and do your own due diligence. Find out where you stand on an issue and what's important to as a voter. I want to know where you stand on issues, and then when I find out where you stand, assuming that you're the right candidate for me, I pitch constantly. Support that candidate. Do whatever. Don't let your vote be your only participation, because you're going to be disappointed with the result.
Right.
Perfect proof of that, by the way, is the amount of fraud that we have just here in the state of Missouri that Robin Carnahan will not purge our voter rolls. And that just ticks me off to no end, because she knows damn well that most of the people who are going to vote in St. Louis and Kansas City are dead or don't even live there anymore. And it just burns my shorts, because my greatest fear is that if we lose this presidency to Obama again, it's going to not be based on the fact that he won the presidency legitimately. It's going to be because people vote 7 times.
Yeah, and that's Mike. That's my fear too. And evidence of that, of Carnahan's
absolute dereliction of duty. I'll call it what it is.
Well, I'm not going to come out and accuse her, but
I will. It's dereliction of duty. It's absolute dereliction of duty, and it's treason against the state.
Yeah, and here's the facts, Mike. In the 3rd Congressional District, when Russ Carnahan was running, in St. Louis was running against Ed Martin, it was a tight race. And at the last minute, 14,000 voters came out of Jefferson County to vote.
Hello.
So it gave Carnahan the victory. So, connect the dots.
Yeah, right. It's like follow the money, right? It's just follow the voting record.
Exactly.
When you see suddenly a whole ton of new votes come out in one specific zone, let's be honest, that's just absurd.
It is. It's a shame that we have leaders like that they put politics above country, and they take care of themselves and they take care of their buddies and let the country go down the drain.
Well, I want to get this hour off on the right foot. I want you to, first of all, because you've got an extraordinary background. You have been in the military. Mm-hmm. You've been overseas as a warfighter. Mm-hmm. And you are now running for Senate. I believe you ran once before, didn't you?
I did. And you know what, Mike, earlier when you said that it's our duty to do our due diligence, I'm one of those that was guilty. I was too preoccupied with what I was doing in the military. I'm a 15-year combat veteran of the United States Army. I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan. I was a first responder in New York City on 9/11. But I really didn't pay too close attention to what was going on in the political area. In 2010, when I saw the change after the election of Barack Obama, and when I saw how much the country, including the military, has changed since he took office, I said I couldn't do it anymore. I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I realized, even though I volunteered 3 times for combat duty to fight against a foreign threat, I didn't have to go. I volunteered because that's the oath that I took. In 2010, in January of 2010, I realized that the threat was a domestic threat, and he lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So I actually resigned from active duty, and I ran for U.S. Senate for the great state of Missouri 2 years ago on the same ballot as Roy Blunt. Unfortunately, like I was, too many people, they vote for the guy they know. They vote for the name they know. So 70%, even though I traveled the entire state of Missouri for 5 months in my van, I lived in it, I traveled in it, I slept in it, and I rested in it, and I campaigned in it. 70% of the people still came out and they voted for the name they know. Roy Blunt won.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do, along with my small staff of all volunteers, is to educate people. And that's why when you go to my website, you'll see a Declaration for Independence. And it's an educational tool. Transparency without public understanding gains no merit. So it's been my goal over the last 2 years to research the issues, connect the dots, and to try and educate people as to what's going on, what our political leaders are actually doing.
Sure. I read your declaration, which, by the way, is very, very good, folks. Go to hectorforamerica.com. That's HECTOR FOR America.com. And there's a link at the top called Declaration. I read this, and it's kind of like a remake of the Declaration of Independence, but it talks specifically about where our government has completely overstepped its boundaries and authority, and how we are basically obligated to now take action to prohibit the further slide of that. On my own blog, my argument is that we have pledged our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor to the preservation of the Constitution in the United States. And right now, if you don't see the fact that every politician out there, but folks, don't make the mistake of thinking that the Republicans are not in bed with this idea. They are. They are betraying you. And so don't fall for this party nonsense. I know you're running under the Republican ticket, Hector, but I can't stand this rhino nonsense I hear. Blunt is a rhino. I don't care what anybody says. You may disagree with me, and that's fine. But Blunt is a rhino. So is Emerson. I watched her vote for the NDAA, and then after I specifically sent her an email to not vote for it, 2.5 months later, she sent me back an email, a letter that responded to it saying, well, it pays for our troops. I'm sorry. That's an absolute unmitigated lie. And also that it doesn't affect the NDA, it doesn't affect Americans. Well, if that's true, then why have 7 states passed constitutional amendments against allowing their representatives, law enforcement and public safety and their own public officials from supporting the NDAA, and why do 18 other states have a constitutional amendment pending to bar their assistance in NDAA snatches?
Yeah, and
we're not all paranoid. You're only paranoid when you're the only guy. But when there's 40 of us in the room and 38 of us are scared to death, we're not paranoid anymore.
And the reality is that those in elected office are paranoid too, and they know what's going on. They just lack the political courage to do what's right for the betterment of our country.
You know what?